Everybody. My name is James Smith. I go by the alias of Samaj E. I will tell you, I did not want to be a book writer. I did not want to have anything to do with books, but I am excited to be in this actual space because I'm like everybody else. There's so many creative things that I've done in my life. I worked within East Baton Rouge Parish School System where I've been for the last 30 years. But I'm also a clothing designer, and I also I coached the Southern for several years, and I found myself writing this book. I woke up one morning and this book was in my head. I could not get this book out of my head. I tried to shake it, didn't want to do it, and somebody told me it's a spiritual download that's got to happen. It's just going to have to happen. So I wrote this first book called Brother Rouge within 3 days. When I wrote it, because I was so active in my church, I'm like, I can't really put this book out here. I can't really, I'm doing things in my church. I don't know if people are ready for this actual book. So I let my mama read it, because if your mama can read it, then anybody can read it. So I said, well, Mama, what do you think about it? She says, oh, my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever read. Well, of course, that's your mama. And Mama going to always say that. And so I let some other people read it, and I found that they were like, okay, well, it's actually good. You need to put it out. I was still a little bit nervous about putting it out. So I waited actually 20 years before I put this book actually out. When I actually did a book signing and I put the book out, I sold almost 600 copies within 2 weeks. So the book actually it's about four guys who were best friends that grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They decided they were a singing group. They wanted to be somebody big, but they were going to go to college because their mama said, back in the day, you got to go to school. You can do whatever you want to do after school, but you got to go to school first. So they were going to meet up in New York City, and after being in New York, they were going to be famous. They didn't know anything about New York City. They grew up in Baton Rouge. They were country boys who did country ways, but they were best friends. They were best of buds. When they got to New York, they were older now, and the things that they learned about each other, they still love each other as brothers, real true brothers, but all hell broke loose. Their whole lifestyle kind of changed. But they were such good friends, you would think that as they were going through these problems, they could actually depend on each other. And they found out that they couldn't. So the secrets and the things that they were actually going through was I should be able to go to my brother and say, look, man, I'm going through this issue. They couldn't talk to each other about it. So they started suffering in silence. And so as they suffered in silence, started going through all these different things, they realized what they really needed was what they already had. And so what happened to these guys is that even though, like my sister said, it doesn't always work out, it doesn't always come out to be something good, but it is what it actually is to be, and it's going to be okay even no matter what happens. And so these guys realized that it's going to be okay no matter what they are going through, because they started really depending on each other, right? So I did realize that this was not a book that, men don't read as much as females do. I would say that, right? So my book covers what I thought it would be. It was these four guys that got together. They loved being friends. They loved the enjoyment of what they were doing. And again, as it got bad, they stuck to each other. But I realized that people didn't pick up and read this book because of the way the cover looked. Now, my mama told me, she says, look, I read all kind of books, son. If you're going to get females to read it, because that's who your target audience is, you got to change the cover, right? And so there was a part two to the book because the story was not finished within this book. There was because people kept asking, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen to these guys? What's going on in their life? What they going to do? It can't stop here. So God allowed me to write the second version of the book, and I changed the cover. So when I changed the cover, to be very honest with you, when I've gone to book, to pop up places to put my book, even though this is book one, all my ladies picked this book up first. Can you tell me why? Because it got me on that book. So when they read, I said, well, you still got to read this first book first, because I promise you it will bless you. Because in the midst of all that we're talking about, it still goes through all the drama of what they had to deal with. Even though it's a fiction novel, it still talks about all the stuff that realistically we have to deal with as people, especially as black males. And so when we're looking at how they got themselves through, they really knew that what they had was something that was special, and something that actually cultivated itself right here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So no matter where they were, all the things their mamas taught them, and their uncles taught them, and their grandfathers taught them, or their boys taught them, they were actually able to take those things on to the next place. And so in this book, they actually became adults. They became family members, or they became husbands, or they became better boyfriends. But they took these things with them. And so it actually is a wonderful culmination of how these boys really became men, and how they were actually able to pull their lives together and depend on each other. So the things that actually had them to fall before that, it actually made them stronger, so they knew what the next steps were to take. I will tell you that it's not necessarily a kid's book. It's not necessarily a kid's book, but I will tell you, this book has, my website sells a book, and it has been all over the country. In the middle of the night, y'all, I have seen China pop up, and Asia pop up and Africa pop up. I'm going, my God, they're buying these books. And I'm thinking, Lord, I'm going to get famous off these books. And it didn't happen so fast. I even took this same book. I took the same book and I found every celebrity I could find, and I sent them a copy of this book. I sent it to Oprah and Steve Harvey and Ellen and Tyler Perry and Oprah. I sent it to every place I could send. And I said, well, Lord, as long as they don't send it back, it doesn't come back return, maybe it's going to be okay. So at this point, none of them have come back. So maybe they took it and threw it on the shelf. And one day when they kind of not doing what they said, what was this? And everybody pick up and read it. And then I get a call from Tyler Perry, I get a call from Oprah. But at the time frame, like my brother said, I'm really not even waiting on them because this book has been successful all by myself. And I published these books myself. And so I understood what it took to actually send it to the Library of Congress and get it back and get a designer to design these covers and to get my own ISBN numbers for it and build this book and sell it myself to my own website. And so I am, like my friend over here says, building just a generation of wealth for my families because it's something I'm leaving for them and their legacy. Something my kids can say, well, my dad has actually done some things and he's leaving a legacy to do some things. And so I'm trying to push it in every place I can push it and put it in every library I can put it in a different section. But, in every library I can actually put it in, and book 3 actually comes out next month. So I'm excited about what's going on with it. So, yeah, that's my story, James.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Authorship and Intellectual Property. My name is Reazelia Allen. I'm also known as Attorney Southern Belle. I am a trademark attorney, and I'm also an associate attorney at Dudley DeBosier Injury Lawyers. I am also running for judge of the 19th Judicial District Court, Division J. My areas cover Scotlandville, Glen Oaks, The Park, South Baton Rouge, Brookstown, Banks, and Zion City, to name a few. And so Election Day is on October 14th, but we're stressing early voting for September 30th through October the 7th. And so I'm just encouraging everyone to vote. My ballot number is number 82. You can visit my website to learn more about me and my platform at www.reazelia4judge.com. My social media handles are Reazelia4Judge 2023 and Attorney Southern Belle. So let's get into it. So when I started teaching this course, I taught it last year, but it was called Set Apart, Using All of Your Gifts to Hit 5,000. So today I'm going to divert that actual course, and we're going to talk about authorship and intellectual property, how the two intertwined with each other, so that we can know a little bit more about branding. Because I think as authors and creatives, we have to be in the business of protecting our brands. And once you become an author, that leads to different avenues for you, whether it means that you'll be able to create courses and curriculums. Maybe you'll be able to go on a speaking tour about your book. Maybe you'll be able to teach a full-blown course at a school or anything like that. There's so many avenues with authorship that can lead to many other methods and ways of generational wealth building. And so one of the tools in generational wealth building is that I believe that we have to actually know and become familiar with as creatives and authors is the avenue of intellectual property protecting your brand, which includes copyrights, trademarks, and patents. Now, about patents, I am not a patent attorney, so I cannot actually advise on patent work, but I can advise on copyrights and trademarks because that is something that I have a niche for and a knack for. And so one of the things I believe that we can do as creatives in setting ourselves apart is that we have to look at what our God-given talents are, whether it's speaking, whether it's writing, and maybe dancing, maybe you have musical talents, or maybe you're good at arguing or debate. Then you have to look at what your story is, what makes you unique. Can you sympathize with your client base? Those are all important things when we're talking about branding, when we're talking about authorship, when we're talking about, creative. So, for example, Last year, I published a book called Trial by Fire, Beauty for Ashes. That book is a collection of my poetry, but it tells a story, and it's also for women who have suffered from abusive relationships. And it kind of goes into my story. It kind of goes into the story of people who are in marginalized situations. You don't just necessarily have to be a survivor of domestic abuse. Um, it talks about different court processes and things of that nature that can be applied directly to life. So that's how I set my book apart from any other poetry book that's on the market. There's no other poetry book that talks about an actual court proceeding, like a motion for summary judgment or a petition for damages or a bond or an arrest, and applying it to like the real factors of life. There's no other book out there on the market like that. And so I basically just really, really try to set myself apart with that avenue and genre of poetry. And so, when you're doing that and looking at your God-given talents, whether it is authorship, whether it is speaking, whether it is writing or being a heavy debater, or musical talents, you really have to look at how are you using them in your normal day in life. How are you using them to leverage every avenue that you possibly can? Because when I look at my book, I look at the fact that, okay, look, I wrote this book called Beauty for Ashes, Trial by Fire, Beauty for Ashes. Actually has 2 titles. And so with that, I could develop a course from that. I could go on speaking tours from that, like I'm kind of doing right now. And hey, it could develop into a movie. You never know what the future may hold with that. And so it's really, really important that you brand who you are as an author, as well as also branding your books. So with that, I just like to tell people, and when you're doing that type of work that's going to set you apart from everybody else, you may not see it at the surface level, but all in all, it's going to come together, right? You have to invest in yourself. So investing in yourself, that may mean taking advantage of courses like this. It also may mean coaching, getting coaching. It costs to be the boss. Invest in courses and coaches in the industries that you're interested in. Like, let's say you want to write about a particular avenue or area. You probably want to invest in some coaching. What before I started writing my book, I invested in a writing coach, and her name was Lorna L.A. Lewis. So that really helped me to stay focused and to really look at everything that I had created over the years. Because I've been writing poetry since I was 9 years old. And I've written movies, I've written screenplays, I've written plays, stage plays. I've done it all. Short stories, novels, everything you could ever imagine. I just haven't put the work out there, right? And so I wanted to do a project that really, really stood out to people. But I wanted to write it under the Attorney Southern Belle. And the Attorney Southern Belle is a trademark. It's a federal registered trademark. The name and the actual logo is registered. So that means nobody can use that name. And so I write under that name because that's how I filed it, because I also do blogs, attorneysouthernbelle.com. And so with that being said, when you are thinking about piecing everything together with your creativity, you gotta look at the brand and look at the person, look at who you are, with your penmanship, your name, your brand. You have to look at all of that. And so when you're looking at all of that, it's worth it to actually invest in yourself, because the return on your investment is going to be way much more. The ROI is going to be way much more. And so the things that I did, even with starting a trademark practice, so this goes into the same avenue. I invested in coaching. Some of my coaches were like really, really heavy hitters in the industry for trademarking. That was Sonia Laconi, Ashley Kirkwood, Cora Davis. I have been Nina Spear. I have been on podcasts. I've been on platforms with all of these ladies. And it's been very, very rewarding in my years of practicing law. And so one of the things you need to look at is mentorship. Attend conferences. There's another thing that I wanted to do, but I cannot do it right now at this time. But there are also writing conferences that you can take advantage of. You just Google it, and they have different conferences like every month for writers, for creatives. That's something to take advantage of. Join Facebook groups, connect with local writing associations. Sometimes, like here in Baton Rouge, there's a thing called Meetup. If you go on Meetup and you look at different writing avenues or just put in writing, they'll have like little groups that meet up and they kind of do focus work in writing. There is a comedian named Sebastian Seabass Ford. He actually has writing sessions with different creatives, and that's a good avenue to take advantage of. There's also the Upstage Theater with Miss Ava Brewster. She also has like different workshops in the playwright industry. So these are advantages that are right here in Baton Rouge that you can take advantage of. These are programs that you can take advantage of to really hone in on your authorship. Because are you just going to be a poet? Are you going to delve into short stories? Are you going to delve into full-blown novels? Do you want to be a biographer? The possibilities are endless, right, with writing. And so we really just have to look at those types of avenues to really set ourselves apart and, find that area that makes you successful and puts you in a whole different lane or a whole different avenue. That's something that we all have to look at, right? And then I want to say you have to involve yourself in different community and professional networks, because I'm a believer is that, you have to bring your own seat to the table sometimes. You have to connect with like-minded individuals in order to be able to leverage yourself, to leverage and to put yourself on the map and to set yourself apart. And I'm not saying that, talking to different people or talking to somebody that's not on your level is a bad thing. It's not. But when you are centrally focused on a common goal or a goal, things become easier for you because they have this thing called collaboration. And collaboration to me is a really big part of authorship as well. Because here's the thing. I've had author friends who would call me just to pick my brain because they wanted to write a novel about law, something that happened within the law. And so they needed to know what was the correct legal process. That's called collaboration. So I actually sowed a seed into their project while they're simultaneously sowing a seed into mine and helping my brand grow and my business grow. It's all about growth at an exponential rate. And that's why we have to set ourselves apart and we have to brand ourselves properly. And I also say, in order to set yourself apart within that authorship, you also have to write your vision and make it plain, and plan your work and work your plan. My papa has always told me to plan your work and work your plan. I don't believe in plan B. There's only plan A. There's only plan A. That may be realistic, but in most areas of my life, I have always gravitated toward this is plan A. There is no plan B. For example, working through law school and trying to make sure I passed the bar, I was determined. I passed the bar on the first time. There is not going to be a second time that Rhea Zelia has to take a bar exam for Louisiana. I was determined, and I set myself up for that, and I actually passed the bar on the first try. Same thing with a lot of other avenues. You really have to stay motivated, stay positive, and really talk to yourself and do self-talk, positive self-talk. There was a comment that was made by, I don't know, it was probably a colleague, but I remember it very, 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 very clearly. The comment was, there was no place for a trademark attorney in Louisiana. People do trademark work here in Louisiana or intellectual property here in Louisiana. They're just not loud about it. I'm loud. And I don't care, because there was an avenue, especially when COVID happened. And I am considered a trademark queen of the South. here in Louisiana, I have over 30 brands under my belt. Those brands includes Pumping and Pearls, Attorney Southern Belle, Boil and Rue, Affiliate Nation, Godspoiled Brat. That's just to name a few. Kathy's Southern Fried Chicken. Um, that's a lot. That's a lot right there. I can't name all 30 of them or however many I have because I've lost count right now. But I have clients all over the country. And so that's something that I'm passionate about. And it does have a place here in Louisiana. I created my own lane. Sometimes you got to create your own lane and set yourself apart. So now when somebody has a trademark question, who they call? They call me. They call me because I set myself apart in my creativity. My creativity stemmed from my writing. I want to be very, very clear about that. It extended from me being an author. And now I work for one of the top law firms in the state of Louisiana. And all I do is write. And see, there's a thing that says your gifts will make room for you. All I do is write and consult. I write practicing law. I write all the legal briefs. I write all the appellate briefs, and I consult with attorneys here on how to navigate trials, how to navigate different legal issues. And I'm able to use my creativity as a writer and my experiences as a staff attorney at the 19th JDC, because everybody knows that a staff attorney at the 19th JDC is basically like the unnamed judge. It makes the decisions for the name judge, makes the decisions for the cases, and the name judge actually, delivers and renders those decisions if they don't have an issue with it. So that's really my niche. And so who would have thought that would happen? And I'm still able to do my trademark practice because that is my niche. That is my niche. So my setting myself apart in my industry was through writing and the trademark practice. And so I basically use my authorship as my personal branding, which led to other avenues, which included me being on podcasts. It included me creating a talk just like this. It includes me sharing the spotlight and stage with big name attorneys. That's what it includes. So you really, really have to have a vision for yourself. Write the vision, make it plain. You just need to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. As a creative, we always have to be up on our feet to seize the opportunity. If there's an opportunity for me to share my work, I don't pass it up if I can help it. If I'm not sick or my mom's not sick or I don't have anything to do with the courts, I'm always taking advantage of those opportunities because you want to make sure that you're very present, you're very accessible, and you're very active. That is how you set yourself apart. If I wasn't loud and I wasn't active and I wasn't, really determined, I probably would not be where I am today. Like that means I wouldn't be here at the legal Bossier. I wouldn't be running for judge, and I probably wouldn't have a book right now that's doing well, in my opinion. So you definitely have to use all of your avenues to make it all come together. And that's how you set yourself apart. So the next thing I want to talk about is, your investment in yourself leads to investment in your business and your brand. So now, everybody knows Reed Zelia Allen. Even in my campaigning, I was very strategic. And I do like to go against the grain. And I think that's what makes me me, because I do go against the grain. I have on a red jacket on my campaign photos. That red jacket symbolizes my favorite color, symbolizes power, symbolizes firmness, symbolizes fairness, symbolizes my sorority. It symbolizes a lot. But it was me setting myself apart, even in my campaign. I always go with the mindset of, look, you got to be different. You have to do things differently to set yourself apart. And, people may think you're an underdog, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be an underdog because most times people underestimate the underdogs in ways they never thought that, and the underdog ends up surprising them. That's okay. That's okay. but it's still me setting myself apart. And I'm not setting myself apart for anybody else, just for me, for me. And so, because I am my brand, you are your brand, you build it. You know, you have people coming to read your book. You have people inviting you to talks. You have people inviting you to create curriculums based off of a chapter of your book or based off of your book as a whole. That's how you set yourself apart. It's all about mindset, and we can't have limiting beliefs. Um, and I think sometimes we do have limiting beliefs. We do tend to get stuck in a mindset that puts limits on us. And I've always told people I am not a person who likes to be boxed in. Okay. As a creative, you cannot be boxed in. And when you are boxed in, it's like anxiety overload. And it's like you can't be free to be you and be who you are and be true to you. And Shakespeare says it, he says it very, very clearly. It's one of my favorite quotes: to thine own self be true. And I can only be, true to myself. I can't limit myself. I can't limit my beliefs. And so that's my mantra. Be limitless in your creativity so that you can set yourself apart and build your brand up. So let's talk about trademark and intellectual property. If you have an idea or a concept, a tagline on your book, perfect example. Gospel Bright is a client of mine. Her name is Rochelle Guyton. If you go and look at gospelbrats.com, her logo is trademarked. Her name is trademarked on the book. The website is trademarked, and her tagline for the book is trademarked as well. So what can you trademark? You can trademark taglines. You can trademark logos. You can trademark your name. You can trademark the name of your curriculums. You can trademark the name of your books. The problem is getting to the actual stage of being a registered trademark. So what you have to do, and you have to realize, is that you have to be using these brands in commerce. Okay, let's say we're going to create a curriculum called Trial by Fire, Beauty for Ashes. I'm going to create a curriculum. So my book is copyright. It's all copyright. The title and everything is copyright. But I could trademark the name of my book because it's a curriculum, and I create the curriculum from that name. That is something that is still trademarkable. So let's say you have a book and your book is a self-help book. You can trademark your curriculum. Create a curriculum based off of the name of your book, and you can trademark it. Guess what? That means nobody in the 50 states of the United States can use that trademark or can use that name. Attorney Southern Belle's trademark, nobody can use that. And so what happens is, in you creating a curriculum from the name of your book, guess what that leads to? That leads to generational wealth building. Because one, it's going to lead to you having curriculums that you can actually probably put on your website, download, and charge a fee for it. I'm giving y'all the tea. Then it leads to you actually having speaking gigs, and you can do your contracts for speaking gigs. My contract for a speaking gig, if I want to charge, I do have a contract. It costs $2,500 for me to come speak. And then it's even higher depending on what somebody wants. So let's say I'm at LSU, and LSU wants me to give a talk to the Black Students Association. Maybe they're doing a conference, a mini conference, multicultural conference with multicultural affairs. I'm a graduate of LSU, so that's why I can use this. Okay, they sought me out. I'll send my contract over. But let's say they want me to do a workshop on diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, based off of my curriculum that I built off of my book. That's another contract. That's another $2,500 to $5,000 that I want to charge LSU for me to do that piece. But for the speaking piece, $2,500 to $3,000 for me to show up. It covers my transportation, it covers my gas, and it covers my time. Because I'm worth that. I've put years into this. I have been featured at LSU's websites in the English department and things like that. And now that I have created a name for myself that has set myself apart, and I've created this curriculum, hey, I'm building my generational wealth. You have to take advantage of all corners. So, and that's trademark. Guess what? Let's say LSU decides, okay, look, Miss Allen, we don't understand you're an alumnus of LSU, but we want to be able to use your curriculum for a diversity and inclusion conference in full, but they don't want me there. My curriculum is already trademarked. Guess what? I can license that out to LSU. I can charge them a license fee of either $10,000 to $15,000 if that's what they would have to pay me to have the access to be able to use my course for all these events that they want to use it for. So that is the beauty of being able to protect your intellectual property, be it copyrighted or trademark. It leads to licensing avenue because you want to actually get a return on your investment. It's a business. You are your brand. And why not be the best brand that you can possibly be? So we want to make sure we're leveraging everything, even as authors, because the buck don't stop at you just writing the book. What are you going to do after that? What are you going to do? I mean, are you going to just let this be a book that just be on the shelf? Or are you going to actually put in the work, put your boots on the ground and go here, there, and thither and further with that book? And I'll tell you guys a story. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I think something's going to happen to it because I'm just built like that. And I just always just trust. I just trust God. Like I trust God and I do good. I try to do good by people, even those who have wronged me, because I know that the reward is so much greater. And I feel like as a woman of faith and a woman of God, He has already set me apart. But I'm doing some leg work as well to set my own self apart. And so long as it, intertwines with His will. And so I just feel like, we got to have crazy faith. It's only, and even in authorship, you got to have an enterprise value mindset. That's why I mentioned intellectual property. It's all intellectual property. Why not get paid for it? Sometimes as humans, we go through the most tragic things, but you got to turn your pain into a paycheck. That's just the end all be all. I mean, that's what I did, honestly. I turned my pain into a paycheck. And it has proven to be very successful because I use my gifts. And I want to reach people at such a level where, okay, they pick up a book and say, oh my God, this woman wrote this book of poetry. She really inspired me. She inspired me to either, get out of a bad situation, or she inspired me to branch out on my own. Like I'm hoping that this talk actually inspires you all that are watching. You just always have to have alignment. And people think things are crazy. I was told a lot. I was told I couldn't. There wasn't a market for intellectual property. I was told the font on my book cover wasn't all of that. I was told a lot of things, but I never ever let people dictate to me my life. They can say everything they want to say, but the end all be all is God. Or if you think about the universe, it's the universe. But for me, it's God. I know what God is saying to me, and I know how I need to move. And the favor of God, that the favor that you have on your life is unmatched. It's not like anybody else's favor. That's why it's not fair. So for me, crazy faith. I am a person. You tell me no, I'm going to prove you wrong each time. If you doubt me and say I can't do this or I can't do that, I'm going to prove you wrong each time. Because I've been told I can't do this or can't do that, or I I can't do this, I can't do that, or I'm too young to do this, or I'm too young to do that. I don't care. I don't care what they say. Cool. Because I'm 33 and I have accomplished so much in my 33 years of life to where I feel like I have fulfilled mostly everything that God put me on earth to fulfill. And I used to wonder why I would have to go through so many things or hardships, but it was all for purpose building me to be the successful woman that I am today. You know, there's not a lot of women out here at 33 that can say they're an author, homeowner, appeared on different podcasts and shows, met with different celebrities. You know, there are not a lot of women who can say that at this age, at my age. And so it's like in the words of Tupac, I may not change the world, but I will spark the brain of the person that's going to change the world, right? So I'm here to just spark your brain. And in sparking your brain, I want everybody to know that being a creative is like one of the best jobs in the world because it's so complex, but it's so rewarding because it can lead to so many other things, which is focused on generational wealth building. Because I believe that you got to have multiple streams of income. But I also believe that in branding yourself and protecting your brand, you have to have those intellectual property pieces in place, whether it's a copyright or a patent or a trademark. And trademark is very, very specific. Sometimes things are not trademarkable. You know, that's why I tell people when you start a business or you got a tagline in your book that you want to trademark, you need to run a search or tell an attorney like me to run a search to make sure that you are actually not infringing on anybody else's trademark because you never know what's out there. People always tend to think that just because you have a tagline or LLC or something like that in the state that you live in that you're protected and you cover, that's only for that state, but not for um not for the United States. Because like it's like an example, let's say you own a storefront and I found out you didn't trademark your name. Well, for me, I can go ahead and trademark that. Then I own it. And then I'll say, hey, I had first use, or maybe I'll do it under an intent to use so I can start marketing. Well, if you can't prove that you had first use and you can't prove that you've been around a long time, I could get a trademark. You could try to cancel my mark, but you may have to end up and coexist with me because I beat you first to the trademark thing. So it's really, really important that if you are going to be a creative, that you make sure you have all of your intellectual property pieces in place. That means the copyright, that means the trademark, that means the patent. And one of the things that I also tell people is be quiet and be still. In all the moves that I have made, I have never told anyone the move that I was going to make. When I was purchasing my first home, I didn't say anything to anybody. I just did it. When I decided to put my name in the hat for judge, I never said anything to anyone. I said it to the person who I wanted to manage me. I never said when I was announced, I never said nothing. I just did it. When I purchased my vehicle, I never said anything to anyone. Just did it. When I wrote my book, I only said something to the writing coach. I never said anything to anyone else. Because sometimes what people don't know, they can't ruin. And that's a true statement. And when you are creative, you have to be careful what you put out into the atmosphere because you never know. Somebody could be listening. Somebody could hear you and hear your idea, and then they end up taking your idea. And you don't want that. So we always want to be very, very careful as creatives and what we put out there. I have a friend who calls it the ether. And I think it's kind of weird, but I call it the atmosphere. Because there's power, death and life, is in the power of a tongue. That's why you have to be careful who you have in your circle. Because if you want to be on a winning team, you got to be really, really careful and very strategic. And if you want to build generational wealth, again, you have to be very, very careful and strategic. It's all about prevention, not treatment. So you're preventing people from stealing your ideas. You're preventing people from infringing on your creativity by actually making the steps to protect your brand, protect your name, protect your authorship. And that's what it's all about. Because in doing that and making sure that you're protected, that's going to open up the gates for you to make more revenue and income and impact. Impact be the first thing. Should be the first thing before income, because like the Bible say, your gifts was always going to make room for you. And so that's basically my talk on authorship and intellectual property. I'm glad you all are enjoying it. And I hope I gave you some information on how to set yourself apart, because I want everybody to win. I want everybody to get a return on their investment. I tell my clients all the time, your brand is going to be so big, you're not even going to realize it, or you're going to be so shocked at how big your brand gets. And everybody's like, well, why do you feel like that? I said, you got to think big. You have to think big, see the big picture, be limitless, be fearless. And I can say for me, in 33 years of life, I'm my mom's only child, my dad's oldest child. I have always been fearless, and I've always gone against the grain. I know people think maybe you shouldn't go against the grain and stay inside your lane. Well, going against the grain is my lane, because I have a gift for discernment, and I have a gift for intuition. I have a gift for listening. And I always didn't embrace that gift, but I go with my move, and it's proven to be very good. Now, some moves, maybe not so much. Some moves, everybody's entitled to make some mistakes in their moves, but I just call them lessons that I learn from, and I get better every time. And I think that's what we have to think about as authorships. First book, maybe the first book is not the best book, but it is the best book, okay? Maybe it just didn't get the sales. But then you got the second book. Well, you already wrote the first book. You already put the marketing out there. You got the second book. The second book's going to blow up. Second book, you're going to pitch it to Authors Clearinghouse. You're going to pitch it to this publisher, that publisher, even though you self-publish. It's all going to work in your favor. So everything is about timing. Everything is about asset protection. And everything is about being limitless and being creative. Because here's the deal. The deal is very simple. As authors, most of us self-publish. We have met half the battle. That means it's easy for us to go ahead and pitch to a publisher, and that big publisher will pick us up. So we just always have to be very, 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 very strategic in our dealings. And we also have to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to us to be more effective, to improve on everything, because everybody can stand to improve. And you are your brand. Everybody thinks that, this is one common misconception that people make about social media. Everybody thinks that social media is just social media. It's not. It's not. You are judged off your social media. You're judged off your social media in terms of jobs. You're going to be judged off your social media in terms of, what kind of clients. You'll be judged off of all of that in the content that you put out. People are going to look and judge you, and then that could cause you to miss opportunities. That's why I say you are your brand. You have to present yourself in the best light of your brand, because people attach who you are to what you've already put out there, be it your website, be it social media. People already have those connotations about who you are as a person. And I mean, first impressions are a lasting impression. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you try to smooth it over. First impressions are always a last impression. I mean, you could be the best person in the world, but your social media could say otherwise, and it makes people not want to make deals with you, not want you to come sit at their table, not want to purchase your books. So you got to think about all of those moving parts. Then you got to think about generationally who you're representing. Are you representing your family? Are you representing your children? Are you representing your husband? You're representing your wife. So it's like, for me, if I feel like there's a bad representation on who I am and my brand, I can't associate myself. And that's how we have to look at authorship. We have to look at authorship and intellectual property just like that. Because myself being my brand, I am the face behind the book. I'm on the cover of the book. I am the face behind Attorney Southern Belle. I am one of the faces at Dudley Devotion. You know, things that I have more to lose. So I'm very, very strategic in my walk and in my talk. And so that's what I want authors to also believe, because everybody's watching. You may not think somebody's reading your work, but they are. And I also encourage everybody today to please set up a LinkedIn. LinkedIn gives you so many opportunities for pitching to be a speaker, pitching for, creating curriculum, and pitching for publishing opportunities. Please start using your LinkedIn more than you use your Facebook or Instagram. LinkedIn is where it's at. I have so many connections off of LinkedIn. LinkedIn leads to jobs. LinkedIn leads to so many different other relationships. And at the end of the day, in every industry, it's all about relationships, right? So it's about forming those relationships and making sure you're presenting yourself in the best foot forward to be successful as a creative. It's already hard enough out there for us as artists anyway, as a creative. So we have to find avenues to get into, to wave into, to create those generational wealth avenues. And so to tie this all in together with the intellectual property piece, when you set yourself apart and you have all of those things together with your intellectual property pieces, your creativity, your books, your curriculums, your talks, all of that, that makes you more marketable. And it's all about marketability to get you to the next level, to get you for a Fortune 500 company asking you to teach a diversity and inclusion course based off of your one book that you turned into a speech, a signature speech, and a signature curriculum. It leads to things like that. And you want that for yourself. So I definitely hope you all enjoyed my talk. I hope I didn't ramble too much, and I hope I made a lot of sense, because I just want the best for everyone who's watching this. I just believe in setting yourself apart. It's okay to go against the grain sometimes. Most times you need to follow the rules. I'm going to say that. But it's okay in the creative space to go against the grain, because Maya Angelou, Hoye Soyinka, these are two of my favorite. Nikki Giovanni, Edgar Allan Poe, so many other people who are the creatives. They went against the grain. And I mean, look at them. Just look at them. Look at their legacy. And it's all about legacy at the end of the day. I always tell people, because I'm not a mom. That's a sensitive matter for me, but I will be a mom one day. I always tell people that my greatest legacy is not my jobs. It's not, whether I'm this great attorney and this great judge, any of that. That's not my greatest legacy. I always tell people my greatest legacy is going to be my children, my family, and the art, the words that I leave behind in my books, in my poetry, in my speeches, in my courses, in my movies, in my plays. That's my greatest legacy. And so when we think about legacy building, it's so much bigger. It's so big. It's about legacy building. It's about generational wealth. It's about that. That's what being a creative is about. Because when you are a creative, everything else just kind of falls into place. And you'll find yourself in places that you never even dreamed of or imagined, based on the fact that you are creative. And so that's my talk. I hope I made sense to y'all today. Thank you for having me, Nadia. I'm glad to have given this talk. If you need some help on intellectual property, you guys can feel free to go to www.attorneysouthernbelle, fill out the contact form. Somebody will contact you. and we can get something set up and I can talk to you about it. If you want to know about how do you change a book into a curriculum? How do you come up with a signature speech? Contact me on there and I can lead you in the right direction. If not, coach and show you how to do it. So thank you so much for having me. You guys have a blessed week. I'm Rhea Zelia Allen, also known as Attorney Southern Belle, and I'm number 82 on the ballot. Make sure you get out there and vote. Thank you.